What's going on, YouTube family? Today we're going to be talking about exotic car financing. Now, this is something that get asked over and over again now that exotic cars are starting to go down in price. But unfortunately, the market has done a 180 and it's a lot harder to get financed. So I'm going to go over all the things you need to know about and a lot more. And also, this video is sponsored by Fine Legal, but more about that later. Let's get into the video. So if you wanted to finance an exotic car about 7 years ago, you had to build up a lot of history when it comes to auto loans. I had to get an auto loan from 80 to 100,000, which allowed me to get to an auto loan of 150 to 170, 170 to 200, 200 to 300, so on. And this is how you build exotic car credit. It takes a few years, but if you stay dedicated, you could finance an exotic car of your dreams. But during the pandemic, they threw all those rules and right out the window. They were letting people that would finance a Honda Accord buy a $200,000 to $350,000 Lamborghini. That's why you saw Lamborghini Ursas absolutely explode, and that's why prices got out of control, because it got a lot easier to finance these types of cars. Now, the market has done a 180 because all the people that bought these cars are getting repoed. They can't afford them. The insurance is very high. The maintenance is even higher. So we have a saying in the business, anybody can buy a Ferrari, but it takes real money to actually maintain one. And we're going to go over some of those pitfalls. So let's go ahead and get into financing an exotic car. Now, if you want to go to your local bank or credit union to get a loan for this, more than likely they're going to say no. And if they do say yes, it's going to be at a very, very large down payment. And it's going to be at a very short term, probably 60 months, and it's going to be at an abnormal high rate. I've seen some exotic car companies go up to 12 to 15% because it is a much riskier car when it comes to controlling that debt, but they tend to give those higher rates because they know that people that own these should be able to afford to pay them off before they're actually due. So a lot of people now are calling me saying, hey, Ally won't finance my car. Some banks won't go over 150,000. It's because they're seeing the record amount of repos when it comes to exotic cars. I'm sure you guys have seen all these Turo gurus and all these other guys basically getting their Lambos repoed. And so every time that happens, a bank freaks out. Now remember, somebody probably bought this car 2-3 years ago for over $300,000, something crazy. Today I'm selling this car for, I think it's $195,000. So somebody's basically $100,000 upside down in this car. And that's why banks are being more discerning and they're tightening down on the actual credit wise. Now, if you want to buy something like this one is a 2017 Spider. The financing for an older exotic is a lot different than financing for a newer exotic like the 2022 F8 that we have sitting here. So let's go over the differences between financing an exotic car with low miles and an older exotic car with a little bit more miles. Now, both traditional banks and credit unions are probably going to whack you severely when it comes to a down payment because they don't want to risk this much money on one major auto loan. They'd rather scatter up this money between 30 car loans than just this one. Just get ready because a lot of these banks are going to ask you for a very hefty down payment, and so you need to have that. Another thing, with the F8, since it's newer and it's lower miles, more than likely the banks are going to give you a little bit lower interest, but they're not going to give you a lot of months, probably 60 to 72 months, because they want to make sure that you have the money to pay down. Don't try to get an 84-month loan. Don't get one of these 15-year auto loans. Stay away from those things. When it comes to the actual Huracan, like I said, it is a little bit older, a little bit more miles, so they're probably going to give you 60-month financing, but it's going to give it at a much higher rate. It's probably going to be anywhere from 12 to 15%, which a lot of people are thinking, wow, that's a lot of money. I would never pay that. But you got to remember, if you go to Lamborghini Finance or if you go to Ferrari, more than likely, even if you have immaculate credit, they're going to charge you anywhere from 10 to 15% on interest because they believe that if you buy one of these cars, you should be able to stroke a check, not really finance it. And I also had a friend of mine that is a mega millionaire that got turned down by Lamborghini Finance because they said he didn't qualify for it. So like I said, rolling into this new year, it's going to get much, much harder to find these cars. That's why I think there's so many people in my DMs asking me, how do I finance these cars? Now, with these two cars particularly, I have a program that I'm working with luxury lease partners to help get people financed in these. Now, the reason why I work with luxury lease partners is because one, you could lease it, you could put it in your company's name. There's a lot of benefits to that. If you want to DM me or if you want to message them, they'll go over all that or talk to your CPA. But I write off a lot of my exotic cars because of this, because I'm able to put it in my company's name, use it for YouTube, and also it gives me a lot of flexibility. One of the things I like about it is it doesn't pop up on my credit report. So if I have one or two of these cars and I want to go buy a car or I need some sort of business credit, it doesn't mess up my DTI. So that's one of the cool things. Plus, it gives you the flexibility where if you want to drive it for a year and then sell it to a friend and go buy another one, it does that. And so now if you want this 2022 Ferrari F8, we have a pretty good deal for you guys. It's $399,000, which is the cheapest F8 Spider. This thing's only got 8,000 miles. On top of that, if you put about $100,000 down, more than likely we can get you financed. Now, the cool thing about Luxury Lease Partners is they do have programs for people that have challenged credit. They're more worried about your income, your bank statements. Can you make the payment? So if you show up 15 minutes on the phone, you want to run your bank statements, more than likely you can get approved for this if you got a good down payment. Now, let's say you only got about $35,000 down. Well, guess what? I got this beautiful Lamborghini Huracan. It's a 2017 Spider. I think this one's got maybe about 40,000 miles on it. It's a little bit higher, but the car's only $195,000. So with $30,000 down, you can have this car pretty much and drive it around. Now, the cool thing with, like I said, leasing is it gives you the flexibility to set your terms. So if you want to put a bigger down payment and have smaller monthly payments, you can do that. If you want a shorter term or longer term, you can work with Luxury Lease Partners to figure out what exactly you want to do and what works best for your budget. But as we go deeper into this recession, I think cars like this are going to start popping up a lot more, because these just popped up. I got a few more I'll share on my Instagram. If you guys follow me at at Lucky Lopez on Instagram, I'm going to be posting all these cars for sale. And I think you're going to start to see more and more exotics hit the market. And when you do, you need to have your financing lined up, because a lot of these deals are going to be gone. I'm not sure if these deals are going to be here by the time I drop the video, but we'll see. But next, I'm going to talk a little bit about insurance, because insurance is a very big part of financing exotic cars, because I've seen a lot of deals fall through because people didn't have the right insurance. And that's what brings us to today's sponsor, Find Legal. If you've been in a car accident, the last thing you need is to have more stress. Don't worry about it. That's where Find Legal has your back. Find Legal is available 24/7. Anytime you need help, they'll connect you to a local accident attorney in your area. These experienced attorneys can help protect your legal rights, as well as help you pursue the compensation you deserve. Find Legal's attorney network works hard to take care of all the legal details, allowing you to focus on what matters most, your recovery. Plus, consultations are free. Services are available in English and Spanish. When you need an attorney on your side, let Find Legal connect you. Click the link in the bio or call the number on the screen to reach out to them today. So let's go ahead and talk about insurance. Now, insuring exotic cars is not easy, and most regular insurance companies will not cover them at all. Some will, but there will be exclusions that you need to read. Now, I am currently with Progressive that will insure exotic cars, but the downfall is they have a cap of $150,000, which means that if I have any issues with these cars, even if one's worth $400,000 and one's worth $200,000, they're only going to give me $150,000 for either the whole car if it gets totaled out, or up to $150,000 in repairs. Now, this is very important, because if you don't have the correct insurance, more than likely you are going to get turned down by financing. And when it comes to financing some of these exotic cars, like I said, they will not let you do it unless you have a real policy with real coverage. So I tell a lot of people, believe it or not, as soon as you get somewhat of an approval and you call Luxury Lease Partners, start calling insurance companies today, because it will take you some time to find an insurance company that will actually work with you to cover these things. Now, more importantly, whether you do leasing or financing, a lot of these cars do not have warranties. So if you get something new with low miles, you may have a little bit of factory warranty left on it. When it comes to something a little bit older, more miles, there is no warranty. How do you protect yourself? Well, first thing I'm going to tell you, once again, if you own an exotic car, you shouldn't have to worry about actually repairing the cars. You're going to spend a lot of money. If it's got ceramic brakes like this F8, you're looking at probably a $10,000 brake job. If you're looking at these steel rotors, even if they're steel on this Lamborghini Huracan, they're still going to cost you $3,000 to $6,000 to get them done. So anything you do on these exotic cars, you need to keep in mind that it is extremely expensive to repair these cars. So with that said, put this into your budget every single month. Take $1,000 and put it away. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but if let's say you're paying $3,000 for the car, $800 for insurance, and now you got to put $1,000 aside, a single car could cost you $4,000 a month. And this is the true ownership cost of an exotic car. A lot of these people never do that. They always pay the bare minimum. They don't fix anything. They don't service the car. And when they go to trade it in, people like me will be like, where's the service records? And if they say they don't have anything, the first thing I'm going to do is take 5 to 15% off the vehicle, because everybody knows if you sell a Ferrari like this one, it's all serviced, the records are in the back, and it's only got 8,000 miles. So it's a good car. But if you have a little bit more miles, you need to make sure you let them know how it was taken care of, how it was serviced, because a lot of these services on these cars are absolutely crazy. So if you want to do a clutch on one of these things, you're looking at anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 if you go to the dealer or if you take it to a small independent shop. But if you've already done it and you don't have the receipts to take care of it, Nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to pay you that extra money. So it's very important if you're doing any type of exotic car, you want to try to have as many records as you can possible. But more importantly is once you buy this car, what is the very next step? Now, I tell everybody, once you buy the car, you always want to take it to get inspected, whether that's at a dealership, at a shop, and just keep in mind, every car is going to need some sort of work, whether it's a couple $100 for a set of front tires, maybe it's got a small leak in the back, maybe the rubber window seal's leaking a little bit, whatever it is, it's going to cost you money. So just keep that in mind. Now, another question I get asked a lot is, what is a good exotic car? To be honest with you, most of the newer ones are pretty dependable. Now, the Lamborghini basically was bought out by Audi, so a lot of the stuff is Audi Volkswagen parts. I've seen these things with over 180,000 miles on them, some of the rentals here in Vegas, and they're absolutely bulletproof. We have another 488 Ferrari that's over here that's for sale as well. That one has 50,000 miles, runs great perfectly. It's only 199,000 bucks, and it's also a Spider. Same thing, runs great, no issues. My R8, in a year, I think I put 50,000 miles onto it. My buddy, he has I believe it's a 2020 Aston Martin Vantage. He's got a little over 160,000 miles on it because that generation has all Mercedes parts. So depending on which exotic car you pick, more than likely it's going to be a little bit more dependable. Now, the question I always get is McLarens. Now, I don't want to sound biased, but I've seen more McLarens with low miles have more issues than McLarens with higher miles. If they've gotten to the higher mile mark, more than likely they've already fixed all the issues and problems with it, and that's why it's still rolling around today. Where you see a lot of these cars with 2,000 miles, but then you drive them around, it starts overheating, it breaks down, blows a coal line, or the transmission just stops working. That is a very big problem with McLaren. So if you're looking at buying an exotic car, just keep that in mind that McLarens are kind of on the bottom end. I mean, they're beautiful cars, the amazing engineering, amazing handling, but just the reliability is the one thing that absolutely kills them. Now, if you own one of these things, chime in the comment section below if you agree with me, or even if you disagree with me. I'd love to know your feedback on some of these exotics, what you spent for repairs, common issues, stuff like that, because we'd have to go make by make, model by model to list them all, but then this video would be 2 hours and 50 minutes long, and I don't have time for that. I just wanted to make a quick video talking about how we can help people get into these cars if they're looking to get one. Now, at the end of the day, like I said, financing is going to get tough. Bring your, like I said, your credits. Hopefully you have most of your stuff paid down. Your DTI is going to matter a lot. So if you have credit cards, pay them down before you go apply for the loan. If you haven't had any type of exotic car financing, whether it's a loan over 50,000 or 100,000, more than likely it's going to be almost impossible for you to get one of these cars. You have to prove to the banks that you could finance and afford something like this. Now, if you're worried about a little bit of your credit and you do have some of your history, I would go traditional financing, and if you can't get it done, another option is luxury lease partners. Like I said, that's currently who I use, so this way I can buy as many cars as I want, and it's much, much easier. But once again, you have to come with your A game. You got to have really, really strong bank statements. They are going to double check them. You don't want to use fake stuff on these people, whether it's a bank, a leasing company. We've seen this way too many times. We're going to know if your bank statements are fake. We're going to check them probably with Plaid and some other software. So those days of giving me fake pay stubs and fake bank statements do not work anymore. You need to show up and say, look, these are the cars I want, and I have the money to buy them. Here's what I'm going to put down. And also, biggest thing that's going to get you approved is your down payment. I can't tell you how many times banks will not approve you with zero down. Those days are gone. Stop showing up and stop calling me, hey, I want to buy this with no money down. It's never going to happen. I don't care if you have an 850 credit score and you own all your houses. No bank is going to do it unless you have some sort of relationship with the bank in your area. All my banks will flat out say no. They do not want to mess with it because they want to make sure you have skin in the game. And if the value of the vehicle drops, you're not so hard up in it. If you want to get rid of it in 6 months to a year, that's why you do this, is you put the big down payment. So even with this F8, if you decide to buy it and you put 100 grand down, and you lease it through luxury lease partners and you want to get rid of it, let's say you lose your job, you're not upside down. You got a little bit of equity. We could sell this right around, give it to somebody else, and you can move on to another car. That's why we want big down payments, because at any time, any of us can lose our jobs. And that's what we're facing in this economy. A lot of government jobs are going to be getting cut. A lot of companies are not spending money. That's why I'm making this video today, is because, a lot of these people that we used to buy these cars from are no longer buying. And so I got a stack of cars sitting in my house that I have to sell just to show you how bad the economy is getting. Now, I like to show stuff like this because this is the fun part, where when my friends say, hey, help me sell some exotics, now I can do this cool stuff. But like I said, back in my house, I have tons of regular cars that people simply can't afford. And we're talking like 50,000 and under cars. And so, You know, with that in mind, if you don't have the down payment, don't try to get one of these. And there's a reason why most people don't drive these, and there's a reason why there's only a few of these on the road, because it takes a special kind of person to be able to afford one, and also takes a very special person to afford the maintenance and the cost of driving these things every single day. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, like I said, I have this F8 that's for $399. I have this Huracan Spider that's, I believe, $195. I have an Aston Martin Vantage that's $80,000, and I also have a convertible 488, which I'll show some pictures here as I'm talking about them. That one is for $199. It is the cheapest. All these are actually the cheapest ones in the United States. So go ahead and hit me up at Instagram at Lucky Lopez, and we'll see you next video.